A reconnaissance soldier suddenly noticed something suspicious on the road ahead. Several shadows seemed out of place, and his instincts immediately warned him that danger was nearby. Without wasting a second, he instructed the sniper beside him to fire at one of the strange shadows. The shot rang out, but nothing happened. Despite the lack of results, the soldier's concern only grew stronger. Certain that something was wrong, he ordered another shot at a different shadow. The sniper followed the command, carefully adjusting his aim before pulling the trigger once more. Again, there was no visible reaction. The rest of the team began to doubt his judgment. Even his fellow scout thought he might be imagining threats where none existed. But Rossi refused to ignore his instincts. A convoy of tanks would soon travel down this road, and even the smallest risk could lead to disaster. Determined to be absolutely certain, Rossi requested one final shot. The sniper, now frustrated by the repeated false alarms, reluctantly aimed at another shadow and fired. This time, the moment the bullet struck, a massive explosion erupted from the roadside. The blast was so powerful that Rossi, positioned hundreds of meters away, was knocked off balance. The realization was chilling. If the tanks had passed over that location, the consequences would have been catastrophic. However, the danger was far from over. Looking through his scope, Rossi spotted Taliban fighters concealed on a nearby hillside. Acting instantly, he eliminated their leader with a single precise shot. The hidden militants immediately understood that their ambush had been exposed. Dozens of fighters surged down the slope and rushed toward the reconnaissance team. Faced with overwhelming numbers, Rossi and his teammates were forced to retreat. He quickly realized he had underestimated the size of the enemy force. Had he known so many militants were waiting, he would have withdrawn and chosen a stronger defensive position before opening fire. Their mission had been to scout the route and ensure the safe passage of the tank convoy. That objective had been completed, but now the four-man team found themselves fighting for survival. Escaping from a large force of pursuing militants would be nearly impossible. As they retreated, they searched desperately for terrain that could provide a tactical advantage. Eventually, they spotted an abandoned village in the distance. It seemed like the perfect place to make a stand against their pursuers. The sniper team entered the village and began using the buildings and narrow passages to slow the advancing enemy. Working together, they alternated between covering fire and movement, steadily falling back while inflicting casualties. Then the situation worsened. The Taliban brought in heavier weapons. An explosive round slammed into a rear doorway, blasting it apart. Surprisingly, the destruction created an escape route deeper into the village. The four soldiers immediately rushed through the opening. Inside, Afghan civilians were running in every direction, desperately trying to escape the fighting. The chaotic scene made Rossi even more cautious. Any one of the people around them could potentially be working with the enemy. Continuing their withdrawal, the soldiers eventually forced their way into a nearby house. They decided it would serve as their final defensive position. As they entered the courtyard, the residents either fled or hid in fear. Yet one elderly man remained standing completely still. Something about him felt unsettling. His expression showed no fear, and he calmly invited the soldiers inside. Before anyone could react, a grenade suddenly landed near their feet. In a move that stunned everyone, the old man casually picked up the grenade and threw it away before it could explode. His complete lack of panic left the soldiers speechless. Clearly, this was no ordinary civilian. With enemy fighters closing in from every direction, the team had no choice but to follow the mysterious man into the house. Moments later, mortar rounds began crashing into the area. One shell tore a large hole through the building. Everyone dropped to the ground and stayed motionless, afraid that moving could mean death. Yet the old man, whose mismatched eyes only added to his strange appearance, calmly walked outside. A few seconds later, gunfire echoed through the village. Rossi and his teammates assumed the old man had been killed by the Taliban. Accepting that they might soon share the same fate, they prepared for one final battle. But just as they readied themselves for a desperate last stand, footsteps approached the doorway. To their complete shock, the figure entering the room was the old man himself.